Okay, let's step into downward facing dog. Hips up way high, sitting bones reaching toward the ceiling, feet hips distance. Fingers spread wide. Come onto tippy toes and pull the sits bones even higher from the heels. Bend knees, pull them in toward the chest. Flatten out your feet in this way. And we'll kick the right leg up high. Stacking hip, bend the knee, gaze over to your right armpit and just open. Twist from your mid and low back. Good. Left leg high. Stack that hip, bend that knee, gaze over toward left armpit, just opening, feeling this twisting happening from the back, taking knee ever higher to ceiling and settling back down. Right leg lifts again. This time let's make big circles with the right knee, opening up the right hip ball joint. And then left knee lifts, bends. We'll make big circles, opening up through hip joint. Back into downward facing, kicking right leg high, and then stepping it all the way to hands. Take the right hand just inside the foot and roll the left arm up toward the ceiling for extended side angle pose. Before we extend though, let's take this arm in big circles, opening up the shoulder, twisting the chest up toward the ceiling. And begin to straighten your leg, taking right hand to the shin, ankle, floor, or block, finding this extended triangle with left arm still over the ear, opening up the whole left side body as well as that shoulder. Soften right knee, take hands to the floor, and step right into downward facing. Other side, left leg lifts high, and step that foot all the way through. Take left hand to the inside of the foot, and lift the right arm up toward the ceiling. And making big circles with this arm, we'll find an opening in the shoulder joint this way. Not only that, but you're toning the upper back muscles, extending through that whole right side body, and bringing some heat to the spine. From here, we'll straighten the left leg, take the left hand where it likes to go for triangle, but keep tracking this right arm over the ear. Keep opening through the right shoulder and trying to twist the heart up toward the ceiling. Soften down, hands frame the foot, and we'll step right into downward facing dog, softening knees, emptying the belly, and then rolling out, snaking out for cobra, rolling shoulders back, and heading into downward facing dog. Let's kick the right leg high, and step that foot all the way to hands. Take right hand inside the foot, and left arm rolls up toward the ceiling. This time, wrap the arm behind your back, top arm behind your back, and then right arm underneath you, possibly binding here, although the bind is really never important. You can shift here, rolling the back heel up, try beaming the chest toward the front of the room. Keep squeezing the thighs together energetically. Straightening the right leg, let's take the right hand back up to shin, floor, ankle, or block. Finding triangle once again. This time though, if you'd like to make it a core supported pose, lift the bottom palm up off your leg, and then we'll roll all the way down, stepping into downward facing dog. Kicking left leg high, step that foot all the way to hands, take the left hand to the inside of the foot, roll back heel down and right arm up toward the ceiling. Make a big circle to open that shoulder joint, and then wrap the right arm around your back, the left arm to the inside of the knee and back around you, possibly binding. If you're really deep into the bind, you might straighten the top arm, grabbing hold of that wrist instead of the fingers. So keep hold, and we'll roll the back heel up, making this a variation of lizard pose. Let the heart beam forward now. Keep squeezing that left knee in toward the midline. And then take the hands down. Left hand stays at shin, floor, ankle, or block. We'll come back into triangle pose. This time though, making it a core supported posture if you like. Lifting bottom palm parallel to top. Taking 3 breaths or so. And then moving down to the mat. Finding plank position. Chaturanga. Upward facing dog on an inhalation. And downward facing dog. Soften knees, empty belly, and step or hop to hands, flattening the back before taking forward fold. Inhale, lift gaze out on horizon, and exhale, fold back in, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift gaze, and exhale, fold in again. This time inhale, lifting all the way up to stand, palms touch above your head, and hands move into heart center. Next inhalation, lifting palms up above, and exhale, dive, lead with the heart, find Uttanasana. Inhale, lifting gaze. Exhale, step or float back to plank or chaturanga, rolling into cobra or upward facing dog for your vinyasa, and finding downward facing dog with right leg lifting high. Step that foot all the way forward and straighten the front leg, squaring hips and finding a forward fold here. Always making it an active fold, use inhalations to lengthen spine, exhales to get in deeper. Finding rotated triangle now, we'll take the left hand outside the front foot. If that's too challenging, just take it right to the inside of the foot or to a block. Roll the left hip down as you roll the right arm up toward the ceiling, trying to stack arm on arm, shoulder on shoulder. Rolling right hand down, possibly take it wide for a really fun triangle variation here. Reaching back, feel gentle little back bend involved in it, hips jutting forward. And we'll come to back knee to the mat, reaching left arm back, right hand down, either grabbing the floor with right fingers or reaching for your back thigh. Take hands to frame the foot and then straighten right leg. Keep hips high as you take a forward fold here. Making it active as always. Shifting weight forward, take the left arm around, bend that left knee and grab hold of the foot. Keep pulling that foot in toward your hip, getting a hip flexor and quadricep opener. Coming back to face forward and gliding through a vinyasa at the pace of your breathing. Kick left leg high and step that foot all the way to hands, straightening front leg and squaring the hips, finding forward fold here, making it an active fold. Take a little hop with back foot to take a closer stance, and then take right hand to the outside of left foot, setting up for rotated triangle. If this is too challenging, bring the right hand to a block at the inside of the foot, or even just place the right hand on top of the foot. Reach high up with left fingers, stacking shoulder on shoulder, feel expansive through the chest. Then roll the left arm down, wide outside the leg, and then roll the right arm up. Jut the hips forward and the chest back. Fun triangle pose. Now settle the back knee onto the ground and lift the right arm up toward the ceiling. Left hand tracks down the right thigh if possible. If that's not possible, just take that left hand to a hip or even bring it to the floor. And straightening left leg, let's keep hips high and find a forward fold here. Coming back into this kneeling lunge, let's bend the back knee, grab hold of that foot, and keep pulling the heel in toward the hip. Really open the quadriceps muscles. Facing forward, hands frame foot, step yourself through the vinyasa, linking postures and breath, and meeting in downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, let's soften the knees, gaze forward, empty belly, and we'll step or float to feet outside the hands for a squat, toes splayed out about 30 degrees, and sitting as tall as you're able. Imagine the spine could get vertical here, taking hands into the heart center. Use elbows to help the knees wide. Be sure to roll weight to the outer edge of the feet. It's common to roll in. Overpronating by rolling the feet in can create shin splints. It's also unsafe for the knees, so be mindful. From here we'll find crow practice. So take hands to the mat, plant your knees high up in the armpits, as high as you can, and lift your hips up high. It helps to lift the gaze forward as well. If you're comfortable in crow, bring heels even closer to the glutes. Try to straighten arms a little bit more and go for 5 or so breaths. before jumping out for Vinyasa, meeting in downward facing dog. Kick the right leg high and step it all the way to the outside of the right hand. We're going to set up for lizard here. If it feels safe, take an elbow at a time to the ground and let your head either drape or gaze at the thumbs. If this is too much, take your forearms to a block or blocks instead. Be with that hip opening, and then walk over to the other side, finding the same hip opening. You can always settle the knee down in this posture. You still get a nice hip opener. It becomes a strengthening pose if you lift the kneecap. And we'll come back onto hands, walking yourself into wide-legged forward fold and bowing deeply in. If your head hits the floor, then walk your feet in a little bit more. You want to find a place where you can totally lengthen the spine, lengthen the neck, possibly dipping your chest through your legs. It really doesn't matter if you don't get that far. You're making progress wherever you're at. Place the right hand at the middle of the floor and roll the left arm up toward the ceiling. That's sailboat posture. Possibly wrapping the arm around your back, lift the right arm up, make it a core supporting pose, and switch sides. Right fingers reaching high to the ceiling, eventually wrapping the top arm around your back, lifting bottom fingers up, making it a core supported pose and maintaining your twist. Unravel. Bow back in for forward fold, and if it's in your practice, head into tripod headstand. If it's not in your practice, you might make the tripod with hands and head. Take feet wide and see what it feels like to rock weight onto the toes and to slowly rock weight onto the hands, possibly even hopping just a little bit up, playing with your sense of balance. Eventually lifting gaze out in the distance, hands to hips, stand up all the way, little back bend of the upper spine, and find a neutral position, arms out to a T. Take warrior two to face forward, and then reach all the way back, peaceful warrior, hopping into half moon pose. Right hand underneath the right shoulder, left arm reaches up to the ceiling. Hips are wide, and the top leg is at least parallel with the ground. If it's in your practice, bend the top knee and grab that foot or ankle, open the heart up toward the ceiling. If you're in that pose, fantastic. If not, it really doesn't matter. Work on your half moon. It's perfectly good. We'll take toes in, face warrior, take warrior two to face the other side. Reach back for peaceful warrior, just feel it. And then use the momentum to roll all the way in to half moon pose. Left hand to the ground, right arm up to the ceiling, right leg parallel with the ground or higher. Trying to open up hips. So often I see my students closing off that right hip, rolling it down toward the ground. Keep it lifting. And then if it's in your practice, bend the top knee, grab hold of that foot or ankle. Try to open your shoulders. Open the chest up toward the ceiling and squeeze shoulder blades together. Coming back out to Ardha Matsyendrasana, landing lightly in warrior two, and then windmilling arms all the way to the ground, stepping through the Vinyasa, opening the heart, finding downward facing. From downward dog, come into dolphin, forearms to the ground. Walk the toes pretty close to the elbows or to your face, and try lifting a leg at a time. Just playing here with the placement of your hips, trying to get them in line with, almost with your face. We'll shift into a dolphin plank, and then back up to dolphin, making this an abdominal strengthener. Move with your breath. I'm going to rock here about, 6-8 times. Dolphin plank to dolphin. Dolphin plank to dolphin. Keep moving with the pace of your breathing. Try it with one leg lifting. Three-legged dolphin to three-legged dolphin plank. Inhale on your way up. Exhale on your way down. Other side. Three-legged dolphin to three-legged dolphin plank. Inhale on your way up. Exhale to shift down. Keep it moving with the pace of your breathing. maybe even until you fatigue your core. It's also building your secondary core and the shoulder girdle. It's so great for strength, for lifting into headstands and handstands later, as well as doing arm balance postures, anything that uses the core. So soften into child's pose, letting the arms relax along your sides, let the shoulders be heavy, let the heart soften. Sitting high up on your knees, hips distance, we'll come into Camel Preparation. Right hand grabs the right heel, left arm reaches to the back. Send your hips forward and tuck your tailbone in to protect that low spine. Come all the way up and try it on the other side. Left hand grabs left heel and then right arm reaches back. Breathe as you back bend and come all the way forward, emptying the belly, giving yourself cat-cow poses. Come back up. For full camel, hands to hips, send hips forward and reach back, both palms on heels. Gaze is all the way back as long as it feels safe. Keep breathing into this rather deep back bend. Go for as many as 5 or 8 breaths if it feels safe. And then drift forward. Once again, emptying the belly, give yourself cat pose and cow pose. Another full cycle, moving with the pace of your breathing. Eventually tucking toes, sending sitting bones high, finding downward facing dog, and then softening knees, hopping all the way to hands, and bowing into forward fold. Inhale to lift gaze, and then take your fold back down, setting 5 or so breaths here, sending sitting bones high and really opening up those hamstrings. Keep hold of yogi toe lock on your right toe. Take left hand, left hip, and stand tall for a balance pose. If you're not very flexible, it might be a nice idea to keep the knee bent, or you could take a strap around the foot. If you're very flexible, keep lifting the leg up high by bending your elbow. You might shift right into dancer's pose, taking your hand on the inside of foot or ankle. Imagine lifting the leg up high up behind you. Almost kick it back before you drift your chest down. Yours doesn't have to be all that high. Just make it work for your body. Taking hands to hips. Open the heart, lift the gaze. And then exhale, hinge for forward fold, grabbing yogi toe lock again. Keep hold of the left yogi toe, right hand to right hip. We'll stand up for a balance here. Trying, if you can, to lock out the left leg, although it's not totally necessary. If it feels safe, lock out your right leg as well. It really helps you find stability if you can lift up on that right kneecap. Allow the quadricep to hold that leg in place. If that feels wrong for any reason, just soften it up a little bit. Shift all the way into dancers. Bending foot behind you, grab hold the inside of it. Kick the leg back and start to hinge forward. Just get to where you can and breathe with it. Stepping all the way down, let's just shake out side to side here, sort of bringing blood back to the spine, back to the limbs. I'm going to do just backbend practice from the front of the mat. Take feet as wide as the mat. Take hands to the legs and lean back. You can really lean the legs forward in order to get back into this deeply. You don't have to take it that low, but if you do happen to get low, start walking the hands down the legs. Just open up your back wherever you can. Bowing into forward fold for the counteracting pose, and maybe flopping left and right. We'll heel toe feet back to hips distance apart. Standing tall, inhale, open the chest, gentle back bend upper spine, and then exhale, bow back in for forward fold. Inhale to lift gaze, and exhale to step or float back, plank or chaturanga, lowering in your way, and then inhaling to cobra or upward facing dog, finding your downward facing dog. Preparing for pigeon here, sending the right knee behind right wrist, left ankle over toward the left. Take time to square hips. You might need a blanket underneath that right hip if you're very tight in the hips or imbalanced. but eventually walk forward. If you happen to be very flexible and you want to take it a little deeper right away, twist to the right just a bit, as I'm doing here. I like to stay in pigeon for at least a minute. Really let the hips soften. Let them be heavy, let gravity take over. If you're very flexible still, you might bind right hand to the left thigh, or actually right to the right foot. You could bend this left knee and grab hold of the toes. Make it a quadriceps opening. Sitting up tall, let's shift to the right, taking the left foot all the way around the right knee, preparing for Ardha Matsyendrasana. Twisting to the left, hooking the elbow around the outside of the left knee, taking left hand to the floor. If your elbow doesn't hook around, doesn't really matter, just keep hugging the left knee in. If it's in your practice, you could take a bind here. Just don't bind if it's going to make you crunch your back up at all. Here's just a fun little practice if you want to go for it. Take both hands to the mat in front of you, about shoulder distance apart. Try lifting the legs out for Vinyasa pose. Shifting back into Ardha Matsyendrasana. And I'm just going to turn all the way around for Ardha Matsyendrasana on the other side. Hug this knee in close, lift the left arm and twist to the right, either just keeping the knee in toward the midline or hooking the elbow. Plant your right hand close to the tailbone, then you'll sit up tall, open the chest, and gaze over right shoulder. If it's in your practice here, you're welcome to bind. Just make sure you keep sitting up tall. Keep gazing as far as you can over that right shoulder. If you'd like to take it there, come into this arm balance again. Get in nice and deep to the twist. It really helps to get in. The deeper the better. Kicking legs out. Maybe just practicing shifting weight onto your hands. You don't have to come here today. Another option would be to tuck that right elbow into your gut a little bit. It's kind of cheating, but it's a good way to start practicing the pose. Taking hands to the mat, let's shift through a vinyasa. Shaking out hips, just relieving the spine before we prepare for a pigeon again. Rolling now to a variation of side plank with my forearm on the ground. Let's practice lifting the hips high, lowering them down, big abdominal strengthener. We'll go for 6 times or so, inhaling on the way up, exhaling on the way down. Shifting onto left forearm, side plank variation. Lifting the hips as high as you're able, and then lowering them down. Keep lifting out of that left shoulder so that you protect the joint. Go for 6 or so. This really works the core, almost like nothing else. Around the spine, find your downward facing dog. You're going to hop all the way through. Taking right heel into the groin, left leg long for Janushirshasana. Walking down the length of the left leg and take the right rib cage down as you roll the left rib cage up. Spend 5 or so breaths here. Sitting up, bend the left knee and place hands or strap around the foot. It's going to sit up tall and pull the leg in for variation of Heron's pose, opening up the hamstring yet again, and taking Janushirshasana on the other side. Left heel into groin, shift to the face of the right leg. Walk down the length of that leg, sending the left rib cage down as the right rib cage rolls up. Breathe with it. Give your muscles a chance to lengthen, to stop holding any tension. Sitting up, grab hold of your right foot and pull it in toward the chest, keeping it as long and maybe locked as you can. Crossing legs, we'll send ourselves all the way through for downward facing dog, finally preparing for pigeon on the left side. Planting the knee and taking your time to set up the hips, using any props you need to, and eventually walking forward resting for a minute or so in this lovely hip opener. If you want to get that quad stretch, go ahead and bend the right knee, grab hold of the foot. Keep pulling the heel in towards your hip. Release, and we'll sit up and find Gomukhasana legs, swinging one knee on top of the other. You might have to place your seat on a block in order to get high enough up here. You can add the arms, bending left elbow up, taking right hand underneath your low back, grabbing hold of fingers or perhaps a strap. And your fingers don't even have to touch. Keep lifting the elbows away from the body, feeling this shoulder opening. Sitting all the way up, let's unravel, finding Gomukhasana on the other side. Stacking knee on knee, taking your time to get there. And then adding arms, eventually hinging forward. And in this way, breathing to the shoulders as well as to the outer hip area. We'll take 5 breaths here. Sitting up, let's unravel again, laying all the way down on our backs and preparing for back bends. So taking soles of the feet near the sitting bones, hips distance apart. On an inhalation, lifting your hips high, interlacing fingers and rolling shoulder blades together for bridge pose. You can stay here for 5 or so breaths, and then if you choose to, we can deepen, making this Ardha Matsyendrasana. Taking arms up towards ceiling, bending elbows, and placing palms beside the ears, fingers facing shoulders. Inhale, lift all the way up, trying to be strong through those arms, almost lengthen them completely if you can. Possibly walking heels and hands closer together. From bridge or Ardha Matsyendrasana, you can lift a leg at a time, take a couple breaths, place the leg back down. And then when you need to come down, tuck the chin to get there, coming all the way back to the ground. Let's take the knees in, placing a palm on each kneecap, and then rolling the knees away from each other. Try to let the hips be heavy here, not helping at all. This releases your low spine and hips and feels so good. And we'll prepare for a second back bend, placing feet back on the ground, hips distance apart, lifting hips up high, interlacing fingers. If you can get there, you might be able to grab hold of your own low back and lift right into shoulder stand. If that's not going to happen, simply roll into plow pose, taking the feet above the head, and then help yourself into shoulder stand. Long, slow, easy breaths here. Coming down via plow, take the toes above the head. Slowly roll yourself down, a vertebra at a time. And then we'll extend the left leg to the ground. Keep hold of the right leg. Lift your head up high and feel that hamstring opening. Keep hold with your right hand and let the leg fall wide. Feel that opening of the hips and take the leg across your body. Feeling a bit of a twist here. Let yourself be heavy. Really give yourself over to the relaxation. You might even place a palm down on your knee, helping yourself twist more deeply. Lift both legs in. This time we'll extend the right leg down on the ground. Keep hold with left leg or foot or toe. Lift your head up high, pull the leg in, getting that hamstring stretch, and then take the leg wide. Try to keep the right hip planting down. And we'll take this left leg across the body, finding a nice deep twist, gazing the opposite direction. If it feels right, let that left knee bend a little bit. Take your palm to the outside of the knee and help it toward the floor. Feel all parts of your spine twisting. And then finally preparing for finishing poses, let's hug the knees in together. We can find happy baby pose, shin and femur bone, hips a 90-degree angle, or taking the soles of the feet together, lifting your head there. Taking any last movements that feel right before you find Shavasana pose. Feet about as wide as the mat, toes splaying out. Arms a little bit away from the body, palms facing up. Check to see that you're about symmetrical. Let the heaviness in your body yield to a kind of lightness. And take this time to let go. Try to inhabit your body, not so much your mind. Just be here, feeling a gentle glow of gratitude for having treated your body so well today. Beginning to bring movement back to the body now, you might hug the knees in toward chest and roll over to one side for fetal position, returning to any intention you're set, really cultivating gratitude. Know that you'll bring it from the mat and out into the world. We'll come to a comfortable cross-legged position to finish up together. Bring our hands in the heart center. Bowing in conclusion, Namaste. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful yoga practice.